because this energy is really pretty wacky right now. So tonight we are going to talk all about that, and we're going to have a pretty in-depth AHA energy check, and we are also going to be talking about how to connect, communicate, and create with your personal guide. Now, this is part 2 of our Opening to Channel series, and this is a really pivotal time for people to be awakening to the connection and communication, or the ability to communicate with their personal guides in a totally different way than ever before. And we've been talking about channeling for a few weeks now. I know we got into the whole Mercury retrograde thing last week, but the week before we talked about opening the channel. And tomorrow we start our big workshop. It's a 7-week workshop called Opening to Channel. We actually have one spot left. I had one cancellation, so we have one spot left, and then we'll be sold out. If you'd like to grab that spot, you can go to ahamomentsworld.com/channel, ahamomentsworld.com/CHANNEL. And we're going to be really getting these gals rocking and rolling with connecting. We're going to go through the history of channeling and go really in depth with the exact steps that you take so that you can communicate both in the written word and also verbally, and it's going to be a really, really cool class. I'm actually channeling the class, and I started to put some notes to paper, and it's really good stuff. And, of course, they always chime in with all kinds of extra stuff in addition to what we have in the outlines in all of our marketing materials. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that. Now, tonight we are going to be doing some readings as well. So if you'd like to call in, and I see a lot of you are already doing that, Sam is ready to get you in the queue here. The number to call in is 347-215-9485. It's 347-215-9485, and we're going to get to some of those calls in a little bit. All right, so let's talk first about what's going on with this energy, our AHA energy check. We have Mercury in retrograde. I know we talked a lot about that last week, so I won't go too far into that today. We have, and that's staying around until the 26th of October, we have a full moon tomorrow. And we have a total lunar eclipse tomorrow. And tonight, actually, the wee hours of, when you go to sleep tonight, when you get up in the morning, if you're on the West Coast, around 3 a.m. is when the total eclipse happens. It's called a blood moon. And if you are on the East Coast, around 5 a.m. is when it happens there. 5 a.m. So it might be like 2 a.m. here, 2:30ish is what I believe I saw for the eclipse. And then we have the one nice, sweet aspect, which is the waxing moon. So going into the full moon. So we have about as much moonlight as you can get. And it's kind of interesting because the guys are saying it's an interesting time because we have this huge full moon. But because the Earth and the moon are kind of crisscrossing, it's going to be almost like a dark moon in its own way, but it's actually a blood red moon. That's why the cast, the light is cast on it that way. So it's kind of like all this light, but then, kind of some darkness at the same time. So it's like the yin and the yang. And it's a time of radical change, of endings, of transformation, of kind of out with the old, in with the new. If you're feeling exhausted, and I normally full moon time is a high energy time, especially with the fall, and it's a waxing moon, that's usually pretty high energy. But with Mercury going kind of in, absolutely in retrograde, and then you have your eclipse energy, it's kind of this push me, pull you. So you might be getting spurts of energy, like 1 minute you're working really hard, and the next minute you just want to crash. I know I had to stop everything and go to Starbucks today and get my black iced tea lemonade. That's my new drink of choice because I'm trying to stay away from the dairy. So I gave him the chai tea, and now it's just, I just needed it. I had so much to do. But on the other hand, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I had to write a whole thing for Gina because we have a new quiz coming out, and I owed her the content for the quiz. And and I was late, so I was up at 3:00 in the morning finishing that up. So it's kind of this weird, like, up and down. But the important thing that you need to know is this is why I called our package the product that was the Ride the Wave product, Ride the Wave, which is Moon Magic and Mercury in retrograde, and there's two teaching MP3s on there about the differences with the moon and the retrograde and all what it all means and everything. But there's 4 MP3 guided meditations in that package too. And the reason why I did that was to give you a way to dissipate this energy and to flow with it. Riding the wave, it's really important that when you feel up and you feel that surge of energy, that you go with it. When I feel like that bit of alertness, even if it only lasts for an hour, I push forward. If I feel tired, even if it only lasts for an hour, I back off a little bit. I just say, okay, you know what, maybe I won't force myself to go for that walk. Maybe I will push myself to get, if I feel that little surge of energy, okay, I'll grab it, and for an hour I'll give it all I have. But this is really important that you guys get to notice that it's not just you. It's not necessarily depression or, being lazy or procrastinating. Sometimes when the energy is doing this kind of stuff, it's really hard to get up and move. Like last night, I was done. I was just done. I said, I can't. I tried to even watch TV. I was restless, and then I just went to sleep at 9:30 at 10 o'clock last night. Never happens. I'm a night person. I'm up at 1 o'clock in the morning doing my stuff. I'm, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I'm not a morning person at all. But, I just rode the wave of the energy. And you will see that if you start to do that the best you can, you'll have a sense of freedom. And that's one of the things when people say, oh, Mari, I just want to be free. I want to stop feeling like I'm shackled to all these schedules, and I'm shackled to, my job and what this one wants and that one wants. And, obviously as an entrepreneur, I have an easier time of that because I kind of make my own schedule and create my own way. And I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs as well. And if you're not, if you can schedule, work at home days or take a personal day. When the energy is like this, it might be a good time. The good thing about all this stuff is it's predictive. So it's on calendars and Google everywhere. You can actually Google the new moon calendar or the moon calendar for the year and put the dates on your in your date book. You can do the same thing with the retrogrades. And, you can go as high or low as you want as far as getting involved with it. But I think it's really important, and I know for me, it's a huge part of my own personal, success kit. It just is. And when I stopped beating myself up for feeling tired at strange times, like midday, and I just let myself back off, I noticed that if I just lay low, the energy will come back up. Now, this, of course, we're not talking about, there's all kinds of other things. If you have sleep apnea or you have hormone issues or all kinds of other stuff like that. But so if you feel like there's a medical situation, absolutely check that out. But I'm just talking about your energetic management, and this is a very, very big deal, and it does have a great effect on things. All right, so I see you guys are getting into the groove here with signing in with Sam for your readings, and I wanted to a little bit of the content, and then we'll start chatting with folks. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about connecting with your personal guide and the difference. There was a question that came in, what's the difference between channeling and intuition, or channeling and psychic work? And I think we had talked about that on another show, but I'll just repeat it. Your psychic work, the psychic stuff, and intuition comes from what we call your energetic receptor systems, your four clairs: clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudience, clairsentience. Those are 4 energetic senses that overlay over your physical senses. And those were put in place for us to be able to stay connected to our higher self that's not in the physical body but navigates outside the physical body, plus all of the beings on the other side, our ancestors, our higher self, you can call it all kinds of other things, the angels and the guides and the ascended masters and all of the galactics and the elementals and the fairies and all that. All of your intuitive senses gave you an opportunity to sense and get messages from everywhere and to know if it's right or not right. It protects you. It keeps you safe. It informs you. It leads you and draws you to, the various answers and guidance and protection that you seek. Channeling, on the other hand, is more deliberate. So some people have what's called a channeling contract. Now, we all have, these little boxes within our bodies that are built for channeling. So you are wired for it. But most people don't exercise that, at least not deliberately and knowingly. And quite frankly, it was one of those things that really required a big boost of energy on the grid to be able to sustain. So it would kind of be like, in the past, it would be like, we have a digital recorder, we have the capacity for digital, but we only have the power for an 8-track tape player or cassette tape player. So now that the energy has shifted so dramatically, what we're seeing is a lot more channeling contracts coming up for people and those capacities coming to the forefront, because this is going to be, now that the grid has shifted, now they need a bunch of us, especially the special ones, the light workers, the way showers, the leaders of leaders. They need us to translate and to download, be able to download and translate all of the new inventions, new ideas and thought forms, new levels of consciousness, new access to all of our multidimensional selves and multidimensional lifestyles, and our abilities to communicate telepathically. And, there's just a whole host of things that are to healing, like new scientific inventions and technological advancement, and protective things are being put in place also. All of this doesn't come from the confines of where we've been. It comes from the greater energies that help us navigate our way. So there has to be a way to get the information to us in a way that we can operationalize it, right? And all of these new ideas don't just come from intellectually smart people. These new ideas come from on high, from on the other side of the veil. And there's lots of different groups, they call them collective consciousness, collective beings, and they sort of cluster in groups. So there are some collective consciousnesses that are a host of angels and more angelic energy. There's some that are more elemental, like fairy and gnome, and alchemical energy, like a Merlin type energy. There are some collectives that are technologically focused and more galactic energy. There's some that are more earth-oriented and focused more with like the healing of the earth kinds of energies. And there's beings who have these jobs, and they come together. And then when you have somebody who's willing to channel, like what I do, then they have a communicator. They have a translator, and they're beyond thrilled that you will take the time to allow them to speak through you and with you so that they can get the information that they've developed through. And so that's why it seems like I'm on a crusade to get you guys to listen up about this, because it's a huge service, and there's not a lot of people who even get it. Most people think it's just this obscure talent, and, they get more focused on how does it happen than what's actually being said. And and so that's kind of annoying, but most importantly, this is about the forward acceleration and forward progression of mankind, and we do it one person, I say one aha moment at a time, one person at a time. So the first step, though, in channeling is to connect with your own personal guide, and this, is another layer. So what I was just talking about is the global effects and global potentials of channeling at large. But on a personal level, when you have a willingness to seek out and speak with and commune with and partner with your personal guide, who's not incarnate, who's energetic, and you sort out how to communicate with that being, you will have an acceleration in your life like never before, because now you don't feel alone. They always say rhetorically, oh, you're never alone, But when you're looking at your checkbook and there's not enough money to pay that light bill, and you've got threats coming this way and you're trying to be positive that way, and, it gets pretty over the top for people. And so to be able to have that connection with that guide, and not just for bills and dire situations, but for everything. What diet should I be on? What's the best type of food that I should be eating? What's gonna can you help me with making a decision? Should I get the blue shoes or the black shoes? Will that dress be on sale on the other side of town? You could do for the highest of high and super important decisions all the way down to the most mundane. Should I use shallots or onions in this recipe? I mean, you can go whichever direction you want with the personal guide, because they're kind of your partner in crime, and it's so much fun to be able to speak with them. And it's also amazing to just have somebody who's kind of the eyes behind your head. Where your physicality runs out, they are just getting started, and they can help to configure things and give you signs and symbols and synchronicities. They can use your environment to send you messages through books, through TV interviews, through overhearing conversations, even getting lyrics in your head, like hearing lyrics over and over again in your head. They really can support you, and they want to. So when I asking my guides, what should I do for the show? And they said, a part 2 of this. I'm like, oh, people are going to get tired of hearing about this. And they said, no. They can't, because not everyone's mastered this yet, and there's so many goodies for you guys to get from it. So we decided to do a part 2. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the top 5 questions that you can ask to get a communication going with your personal guide. And I guess the first thing I promised to talk about was how to know that your guide is trying to speak with you. And, that's kind of an interesting question, because there's all different sorts of ways. The ringing in the ear is a big one. I know somebody had asked me, we did the Are You a Special One quiz, and someone had asked me, what I did the AHA Treasure Chest, which is a product that goes over all the questions that were in that quiz, and I missed a question, and it was about the ringing in the ear. And one of the things that happens when you have a channeling contract, or when your clairaudience is being turned up, meaning you have messages that are coming in through your energetic hearing, is you'll get a ringing in the ear. It's kind of like a radio tuner. That's not defined on a specific station. So you get that dee, like it's there. It's like, come on. And then if you work with it and you pay a little attention to it, and you ask for it to shift the frequency so that you can discern it, which basically means slow the frequency down, because they're much faster, right? So that's why you get the full ringing. But if you ask them slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, they can't know if you're getting it. You need to let them know that you're getting it. It'll start to form words, and you'll be like, oh, is that what you were saying? Okay. And then the ringing will stop, and you'll start to feel words. Now, a lot of this will feel like it's your imagination. But your imagination actually is the most powerful tool of consciousness that you have, and it's a tool of creation. It's your built-in creation. It's your built-in, pottery wheel, if you will. So the imagination is not a farce for your mental mind to play in when it's bored of doing all the intellectual things that it does. Your imagination is actually a very energetic process that creates. And so whatever you're focusing on, if you keep envisioning yourself getting into an argument with so-and-so because they did this, and you just keep seeing it over and over again, you'll get into that argument with so-and-so because you're creative with that energy, with your imagination. If you deliberately imagine, though, and you start to see yourself, sitting with your guide and getting very specific information and feeling a sense of knowing and a sense of connectedness, you'll be amazed at how you start to get that sense of one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking across the floor. That feeling of knowing that you're on the right path. Okay, so one of the best questions you can ask, because a lot of people get caught up with, well, can you give me the lottery numbers, or can you is this guy going to call me, or should I, is this money going to come to me, or should I pick that job or that job? What I would suggest, that's some better questions. The first one is, what do you want me to know right now? What do you want me to know most right now? Really, really good one, because when you start journaling about that, what do you want me to know most right now? It gets you, it cuts you to the chase, because a lot of times what we're focused on isn't really the main issue. What we're focused on is actually a distraction to the real core issue. And, I know a lot of people, they call me for readings and things, and they just want their answer, and they want what they want to hear, and they don't really want the real answer, and they don't want the teaching under the answer, and they don't want the explanation, because they just want to hear what they want to hear, which doesn't particularly serve you because it's more about your mental mind controlling the outcome as opposed to you getting the thing that's going to actually genuinely propel you forward. So what do you want me to know most right now? You'd be amazed. Sometimes, you might be thinking, it's a man situation. And then they take you in a totally different direction and say, okay, focus on your career. You want that guy, focus on creating a life that's so irresistible that he, by you being independent and you being very focused in your own passion, there's nothing more, attractive than someone who's really passionate about what they do and who's pretty enthralled with it, and then you're trying to, convince that person that you're worth them taking a little time out for because their life is so exciting, and that's the best attractor you could ever create. So that's the type of thing that you'll get with that. Another question that's really good to ask is, how can I contribute? Now, a lot of people say, well, I want to make $4,000 a month, or I need $10,000 to, put down on a new car, or I need whatever amount of money. The question you ask for that is, what contribution can I make that would be the equivalent of the $75 to, pay the phone bill. Asking what contribution can I make that would be the equivalent of the dollar amount that you need will get you a totally different type of answer, and I'll tell you why. It's funny. There's been times when I've asked that question, and then I have a friend call me, and I end up, and they're despondent and they're stressing, and I end up on the phone with them, coaching them through whatever they're going through, and it takes up my time, right? And I miss out on something that maybe I could have been doing that would have been, monetarily rewarded. But by taking the time, the energetic time with the person who is really in need, the universe will reach back and I'll get, let's say, 3 or 4 sales on something that's like, let's say, an audio program that I don't have to be involved with my time, like a reading. I'll get 3 or 4 sales out of nowhere. I know when I was writing my book, and it was like, okay, well, I don't have the time to be teaching and coaching and mentoring and all of those more transactional type of things because I have to write this book. And like, well, how am I going to, pay the bills and write the book? And it was interesting because they would say, go write the book, focus on the book. And every single day that I would go to that bookstore and I would write for the 3 hours that my laptop battery would last, I would come out and there would be sales that had happened. So I was making a contribution for the greater good by writing a book, and the energy was paying me in a different way than what I expected. So when people call me up for readings and say, well, how do I, get this kind of money or that kind of money, or, a lot of times if you ask, how can I contribute at a level that would be equivalent to receiving, filling your dollar amount of choice, you'll see that the guides need you to serve in a variety of ways, and that it's not always A plus B equals C. And as light workers, special ones, et cetera, it's really important that you get this, because when you start to move into these greater levels of consciousness and this multidimensional aspects that we have now, it's not black and white anymore. It's not just about get a job, get a paycheck, pay the bills, get a man, have him pay your bills. It's not about that. That's actually fairly that's an old-fashioned way. Let's put it like that. The new way is contribution and flow. And the more you contribute with an intention of being in the moment and being of the highest use possible, the universe will come back to you with way more than you ever even would imagine. Okay, so then another question that you can ask with your personal guide that will really get the conversation going is, when you're looking at especially tough situations, because that's usually why we start to even think about seeking out a guide, right? I've never had someone call me up and say, hey, Mari, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, and my life is wonderful, and I have all this money, and I've got the perfect man, and I love my mother, and I love my kids, and everybody is wonderful, and I have the perfect house, car, and I just got back from Tahiti, and I'm calling you. Like, that doesn't happen. They usually call me and say the complete opposite. The man left, the kids are pain in the neck. I hate the dog. It's my husband's dog. He left. All this, whatever it is. But it's not all hot sunshine, lollipops, and roses. So then they want, me to solve the problem, and I say, here we go. The question you want to ask is, what message is it that I'm not getting here? Because every adversity holds a nugget, a message, a lesson, a gift, if you will. A lot of times the bigger things, even the small things, because the small things add up, but a lot of times the bigger things are actually future careers for you. So when my fiancé passed away many, many moons ago, it was, of course, tragic. Especially being in your late 20s or early 30s, and you have all these dreams and goals, and then it just whoosh, just vanishes. But what it did is it brought to my attention the whole insane desire to continue to communicate with him. And so that made me step forward to go to medium after medium after medium, and then nobody could get him through because he kept saying, well, she can do it herself, and it forced me to, it sort of inspired me to go and learn about mediumship, and then I found out that indeed not only could I do mediumship, I was actually very, very good at being a medium. And when I went to Doreen Virtue's certification course, and we had to do stage mediumship, where our test with Doreen was there were 30 girls in the class, and girls and guys, and we had to have a microphone and stand in the room, in the middle of the room. Everybody was sitting down around us. Doreen was sitting in her little throne and judging, literally had a clipboard and was taking notes on what you're doing. And you had to pick somebody out of the audience and do a reading for them. And when I finished doing mine, she looked at the room and she said, okay, everyone, this is how it's done. That's all I have to say. That's exactly what needs to happen. And she was, she's like, you're the best in the class, and blah, blah, blah. And his passing was the catalyst to me discovering, what started out as mediumship and now is channeling, and, this whole career. I mean, it's just completely, that was 10 years ago. And it just, it was a catalyst. It was a gateway. So when you ask, what am I supposed to be learning from the situation, that's the type of answer. Everything has within it, a nugget. And a lot of times we get very caught up in the he said, she said, and, how is it all going to turn out, as if how it's going to turn out has something to do with some future idea that has nothing to do with it. How it's going to turn out is going to be mostly how you focus. So I've had situations where I fully focused on the negative conversation and the negative argument and how it was all not going to go to hell in a handbasket. And it just played out exactly like that. I've had situations where it started off looking like that, and then I catch myself and say, wait a second. Let me reframe this. let me say, this is going to work out even better, and start to envision what if this could work out, really positively. What if at the end of this I could feel extremely relieved, and I'd start focusing on the relief, and then all of a sudden there'd be some shift in the situation, and then the situation would release. When we're gripped on the end outcome, and we're just swimming around trying to find someone to give us the answer we want to happen, we really sort of shut down the communication with that personal guide that can really show us the way. And quite frankly, a lot of people might be thinking, well, Mara, you're talking about a really long process, and and I have to deal with a lot of ambiguity with doing things the way you're saying, and I really just want, I want the answer. I'll tell you what, your guide has the answer. And if you want to drag something out and make it really, really long and wrong, focus on just the answer. If you want to accelerate it and shortcut and get on to the next thing in your life, ask the kinds of questions that we're talking about. And that will give you, it may seem a little bit like a few extra steps, and you might have to be a little bit patient with, the ambiguity part of it. But if you just say, what do I need to know most right now? What do I need to know most right now? And you take a big issue and you break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, step by step, you will see a big acceleration. And one of the things that will happen also, and they're telling me to remind them of this, is I don't know if you ever played that game Chutes and Ladders when you were a little kid, but there's it basically, you're going up these different, ladders, or you're going down a chute, and you spin the wheel or whatever, and you go like 5 paces, and then if you land on the ladder, you get to go up 2 levels or 5 levels, all the way to the end of the game, kind of thing. But if you land on the slide, you slide backwards. The way that you can kind of get those big leaps that you're looking for, where you kind of cut to the chase, is to work with that personal guide, because they're looking for the most efficient way for you to get what you need to get, learn what you need to learn, and get on to the next thing so you can be a contribution. It really doesn't do anyone on the other side, God included, any good for you to be confused. It's annoying to them for us to be confused. Flat out, just like, it's like herding, one of my friends was herding kittens. Like, really? Oh, you're kidding me. I just thought it's like it's like catering a wedding, and like the band and the catering bull and the wedding planner and the florist and all the dress people, the hair and makeup people and the priest, they're all planned to be at the wedding, but then they changed their mind because someone didn't text them, or they didn't, you know what I mean? They didn't have the money for the electric bills, so they just shut down and decided they need to go the other direction, so there's no wedding. And that's what they deal with us, because they need us as much as we need them. That's the other thing. It's like, unfortunately, our organized religion, systems of organized religion, have stripped us of our power in certain ways. When it's like, God, we need God, we need God, we need God, or we need these higher entities, but they don't need us because they're everything. They're benevolent. But remember, the one thing they are not, that we are, is physical. They're not physically, they're not embodied. So us being embodied and us living with matter, and with the energy, imprint of the matter, but it's still solid matter. And so they need us as much as we need them, because they need us to communicate what they're trying to get across to each other. And we're always being used as messengers, always, for each other, always. So I hope that makes sense to you. Let me just answer one more of these things. I know. One of the questions that's come up is, how do you know if the information you're getting is your actual guide or just your mental mind? And the short answer to that is that your mental mind It's going to be very frenetic, very loosey-goosey. It's going to be kind of sporadic and scattered and cause, hyperventilating and usually breathing issues. You just feel like, oh God, that kind of thing. Whereas your true guide mentally is deep within. So it feels like it's coming from this knowing place. It's usually a quieter voice. On my website, actually, it's free. There's a free download on the front page of the website, and the website is ahamomentsworld.com. And the free audio MP3 is the 10 ways to know whether something's your true intuition versus false, meaning your mental mind. And that'll give you a really in-depth guide to all the different steps. So you might want to download, go ahead and just sign up for that and download that, and that'll really give you more clarity on that. So don't take a whole lot more time with that. And then the last little point we'll talk about right now before we get to your readings is what are the best places to be if you're trying to connect. Now, when you're working with a personal guide from a channeling perspective, you want to be sitting up. You don't want to be laying down. You could be standing up, but you want to be sitting. Most of the time, it's the best to connect by sitting down, and you just bow your head a little bit and lean a little bit forward. The point of entry for that guide's energy to come into you is at the back of your neck, right at the nape of your neck, between your neck, and right that's the spot right between your neck and your shoulders, which is your appendage point. That's the difference between channeled information and intuitive information, which comes from the four clairs, those other energetic. When you're channeling, this guide is sort of coming into your living room, or your genie bottle, I like to say, and sitting with you and having, a conversation. The intuitive information is more you're collecting data and highs and lows of energy to confirm that. So your intuitive energies will work with channeling because you'll be talking to your guide, and then your energetic senses will make you feel a high for yes and a low for no. So if you're getting information and it feels right, your energetic senses, your natural intuitive senses are going to say, oh, I just got this information, and oh, that feels so right, yeah, and the guy just said this, and I see this clairvoyant vision in my head, and so the two things will kind of braid and integrate together. But for the sake of teaching, I try to help you to separate out the channeling energy from the intuitive energy, although they eventually do work, hand in hand. And when we do a big 7-week class, we're going to be, practicing and doing all that kind of stuff to help you to really get fluent in that regard. But as far as the best places, being outside, I find, is really, really helpful when it comes to doing this type of work. I happen to be in sunny San Diego, so I can sit outside. I know all of my little dear friends on the East Coast, maybe not so much, especially since you're going into winter. I'm going to get calls so they know it. But what you want to do is, as best you can, get out in nature, bundle up if you have to, and take a quick walk, a brisk walk, because energetic information, spiritual information, always travels, on the molecules of energy molecules of oxygen that you inhale into your body. So those little molecules, when you inhale and breathe deeply, they have, it's kind of like the ticker tape on the bottom of the CNN station. It's like this. All this information is all on the ether. It's on the oxygen, the molecules. And then as you inhale it, it goes into every cell, and then that's how it communicates to you. So one of the reasons why when you're in the shower, you get these insights. I named my business in the shower. I have written product after product after product, and program and telesummits, and made decisions in the shower because you've got the water, and you've got the elements, and you're breathing deeply, and there's a sense of safety there because you're very cocooned, and it's an amazing place for getting information. But sitting outside, anywhere near water is good because it's an amplifier. So if you're breathing deeply, which is why yoga and all the different breath work and the types of Tai Chi and martial arts and everything so focus on the breath is because of this theory as well. But if you go outside and you're near a body of water, the water is an amplifier. So it turns things up. You can literally hear better, okay, and perceive better, I should say, because sometimes you're not hearing it, you're perceiving it. There's amplifying crystals, and if you want to know all about that, you could take our Crystal Camp class with Allison Hayes, the rock girl, and she will, she takes us through all the amplifiers, but one of the big amplifying crystals is clear quartz crystal if you're trying to get information, and she'll tell you there's all different combinations, and don't put it with this and put it with that, but for the sake of ease, if you want to amplify messages and you want to be able to perceive them with greater ease, having your crystals around will help that. Being outside, being near a body of water, being in places that will make you breathe deeply. Now, let's say you can't get to all those outside places with oceans and lakes and things. You can get yourself a fountain. I know when I was back in New Jersey and I was an hour away from the ocean and there was just no way I could get out there all the time, I always had a fountain going in my house. So I had my water as an amplifier, okay? I would do a little Tai Chi. I would do some movement. You can lay down, you can stretch so that you're breathing a little bit deeper. Even going to the gym, going to the gym is great. And because you want to get the breath in there. You want those deep breaths in there. Okay, so, and then, of course, if you can sit regularly at a specific time each day so your guides know that you're going to focus that attention, it's cumulative. You'll start to get more and more information at that time. So I hope that's helped, and I think that's going to be it for our content. Now we're going to get to some reading. And I think I need to just take a little sip here of my water because I was getting a little parched. I talked for a really long time. God. And I'm sure Sam is shaking his head. But I wanted to get all that out to you because it's really important stuff. And boy, would it make all of us super happy to have you connected with your personal guides with much greater ease. You can get lots of info and feel really confident and good as you go about your day-to-day. All right. So the number to call in is 347-215-9485, and off we go now. If you were sitting and waiting for a reading, to ask me a question, just know we're going to don't have your phone, so far away that you can't get to it if we stop over and say hi. So the first person we have tonight is Tanya from San Jose. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Mari.
Hello. How are you? I like your energy.
I'm good.
Already.
How are you?
I'm good. What's your question?
I just had a really quick question. I just wanted to check in with my guides and just see if they had any specific messages because I've just been feeling this energy that I'm like at the brink of making a really big change in my life. So I just wanted to know if they had anything for me.
Are you moving?
I have been in the process of trying to find a place to move out.
Yeah, because they want you to know that it's right there. But it's going to be a two-part move. So it might be that it's like a short thing, and then you jump to the bigger thing. And they're saying you're trying to hold out for perfection, but there's like a two-part process. So there might be like a little bit of a temporary half step. But they say keep packing and keep focusing in that direction and don't second-guess yourself because you're on the right track.
Okay, great. I just wanted to check in with that because I have been feeling that the move is really close and maybe just a temporary thing till I find something more concrete. Yeah,
it's gonna configure. Let yourself get past this eclipse. That's one of the reasons why it was getting hazy, and the Mercury in retrograde part as well, because it's like the whole shadow effect. That's a couple of weeks before the retrograde even happens, and then there's the shadow afterwards and all that kind of stuff. So I would say by mid-November you'll really have both feet on the ground and you'll know what you're doing. But right now, just do what makes sense to do right now, which is pack. Clean, pack. Focus on how you want to feel when you're there and how you're going to feel when you're finally in that perfect place for you. And just know that it might happen in 2 steps. Feels that way. So if something comes up where a friend says, stay with me, and then you can, jump to the next place or find a better place, and that's great. They're saying something about light colors. Focus on the light colors. I don't know. I guess you're going to have a couple of choices, and they say you'll know what they're talking about when you get there. But there's some place that mentions light colors, so it might be, if you see like all dark purple walls, that's not the place. All right, my dear. I hope that helps. You're so welcome.
You so much,
have a great night. Okay, take care. All right, so next we have Mia from Florida. Hi, Mia.
Hi.
Another good energy person. I like you too. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just peachy. What's your question?
Can I receive a reading on finance? Any message that my guide want to give me?
I would rather you give me a specific question for the sake of time because we have like a minute.
Oh,
so
okay.
What's the specific question?
More like change of career and a new job, or is it possible?
What's the question? What's your question?
Will a new change of career improve my finance?
Yes, but you're choosing from the wrong point. You're looking at the outcome as driving your decision as opposed to your decision creating an outcome. So it's like you're looking for reassurance that if you take this step that your finances are going to improve. But what's really going to improve your finances is what we were talking about earlier during the day. You don't even have to change a job to improve your finances. What you have to do is start to think about being more of a contribution as opposed to just having a job that's going to pay you more money. And this is a transition for you because I know that it's scary, because it feels like you have some fear around all of this and you're trepidate, you're sort of treading lightly and you just flat out want to leave your job, but you're scared to. You have to take it in steps. But going back to that question we were talking about earlier, how can I contribute in a way that will create, X number of dollars for me a month or a year, and then that really makes my heart sing. Add that in there. If you start to get your heart energy in there, your mental mind won't get so in the way, and you'll see things start to unfold, and then the money will flow, and the money will flow even without the whole big new job thing. Don't assign that the only place you can receive money from is from a job, because there's plenty of other places to get money besides a job. So this is an evolution for you. That's like an acceleration. So I hope that's helped a little bit.
Okay. Yes, I will go back and listen to on the recording.
Yep, you do that. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I just think that it's time. What they're trying to do, instead of you taking action first and then wondering what happened later, they're trying to get you to pay attention to the energy of what you're spinning first, and then make start to ask your questions a little differently. And you're going to see some really fun things unfolding, and I think you're going to be really surprised. There's like some big gifts right around the veil for you, right there. But you just have to ask a little differently so they can give you access to it. So I hope that helps.
Okay. And the question that I have to ask, is it something that I can meditate on?
Yep. Absolutely. That's a great way to do it. Or do a walking meditation. Go out in nature and walk and just ask the question, how can I be a contribution? How can I perceive what contribution I need to be to make this much money and have my heart sing at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
I have to go because I have a bunch of other people to get on with, but I hope that helps.
Yes, it sure does get me to where I need to be. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mia. Have a great night. Okay, next, I believe this is North Dakota. We have Sharon. I think that's North Dakota. Yep. Hi, Sharon.
Yes. Hi, Mari. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Oh, I so enjoyed that lecture that you gave on guides, and I know that I had a different question, but I know that guides have an answer for me. Here is where I'm sitting, okay? And I need to know where to start to clear up this mess and have a life. I'm losing my vision. I have for a long time. It's been going slowly. I have a hip that is very painful, and I don't want another surgery. And I can't lose weight because I can't walk. And then to top it all off, I lost my job 6 weeks ago from downsizing. I thought I could write children's books because I really feel I'd be good at that, but there's a creative block that I could almost cut with a knife. And last but actually not least, I was in an abusive marriage many years ago. I've been single for like 35 years. I really would like somebody in my life, if that's possible. Where do I start to have a life?
Wow.
That's my question. I know.
I think the first thing is that you're going through a dark night of the soul, which is actually like a congratulatory time because you're really purging a lot of the things. And you've got a dark night of the soul is when you're going through, a major issue in all your life categories simultaneously. Usually they have like a health thing, but the other things are okay, or a money thing, but the other things are okay. But you're kind of getting something in each category, which means that you're going through a massive acceleration.
Really?
And yeah, it's actually a really good thing because you probably somewhere in your travels there asked for huge change, and this is the beginnings of it. Change doesn't often look like what we think it's going to look like. It starts off when we go out and say, I want a really big change. I want my life to change. The first big sign that you've been answered is they break down everything that wasn't working before. So the hip part is like a fear of going forward. That's usually, when you have limb issues, it's a fear of going forward. I would focus. They're telling me you want to back. I don't know if you eat a lot of dairy, but if you back off the dairy, most of the hip issue is inflammation. And if you backed off from dairy, especially milk, cream, Greek yogurt, all of that, and you did that for like 2 weeks, you would see a marked difference in how your hips feel. Yes, absolutely. You definitely have a dairy allergy, is what they're telling me.
I live on that stuff.
Yeah. Not good.
Not good,
I can tell.
Okay.
And I can't fix all the other issues all at the same time, but what I would say is doing this work that we're talking about with the personal guide would be huge for you. Absolutely huge. And you do have someone right there, and you definitely have a channeling contract. The weight problem is a telltale sign of a channeling contract. Excuse me, because it's energy that's bottled up that needs to come through. But it isn't because you're not expressing it out yet. Yeah. I actually have a new quiz coming out tomorrow. If you're not already on my email list, go to our site, ahamomentsworld.com, and sign up. And I'll be announcing tomorrow the new quiz, and it is, do I have a channeling contract? And it's 21 questions that will give you some ideas as to what it is that's really that little combination that's letting you know, hello, there's somebody, your guide is sitting right there ready to communicate, and these are all of the things you just talked about are very telltale signs. So, whether you can, take the channeling now or later or, get books on it or whatever, it would be really helpful if you even just pull out your journal and start and just say, I'm open, flow the energy through me so that my life can get back to normal, because it's really more about blocked energy. And I think, as far as the job and all that kind of stuff, I think you'll see a big shift. You got to get your body feeling better, but there's something right around the corner. Everything feels more horrible because we have a lunar eclipse and Mercury in retrograde, and, it's just, I know how exhausting it all feels. But, in 2-3 weeks, once you get into November, you're going to start to see a lot of things opening up for you. But definitely do your journaling, and I hope that's helped. Get off that dairy.
I will. I appreciate
You're welcome,
that.
Sweetie. Okay.
Thank you,
Take care now. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, let's see. Moving on, we have Renee in Tennessee. Hi, Renee.
Maury, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is there a message that my guardian angel or my spirit guide could tell me right now that would help me?
Give me something more specific, just because we have not a lot of time left. What would you like? What's your question? Give me a question, and don't give me a message.
I guess my question would be my career path right now and finances right now.
Okay, so what's the question?
The question would be, what contribution can I make to make more money?
Okay. So, by any chance, do you do a lot of craft or interest in crafting?
No.
Because what about cooking? Let's just go ahead.
I do like to cook, and probably as far as something creative, I did start a new creative project in writing that I really enjoy. It's something that makes my heart sing. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay the bills, but it is something that I enjoy.
Yeah. You know what? I would say that one of the things that now the word blogging is coming up, but it's that more importantly for you is about doing something creative with your hands, moving, like whether it's painting or cooking, where you're stirring or kneading bread, that type of thing, because you're right on they're showing me you're right on the precipice of a big quantum leap forward. And this insight is right there. It's kind of right at the gateway, but they need your body to move more because they use the whole body when they're getting messages to you, and you're very in your head. You're counting the bills, and then you're saying the money isn't there, and then you're focusing on how all the stuff that's not there. And you have this real big, huge, like Grand Canyon-sized divide between what you love and what you think you need to do to make money. Yeah. And so they're showing you like kind of tipping back and forth and afraid to jump because you're afraid the wings won't flap with you, but they will flap. Okay, so they're not saying that you have to put the pressure on your writing to put the food on the table just yet. Okay. But what they are saying is if you could, one of the things you don't have enough information yet to get the specific answer, but what they want right now is for you to move in the sense of moving your body, a Tai Chi type thing, Pilates, yoga. Yoga is a little, actually, and this is for everyone, yoga is wonderful. However, when we're talking about channeling contracts, you're better off doing Tai Chi because yoga is about holding a pose and breath. Yeah. Whereas Tai Chi is that flow. You're moving. There's this. You're collecting energy in a different way. And I'm not putting down yoga, so please don't start emailing me. But I get it. I'm doing yoga every day. I get it. But for what we're talking about, and this is coming from the guides and not Mari, is they want that flow, that movement. You dance, even if you did ballroom dance, Rumba or something, you want that movement. And you're going to, if you incorporate that in with your journaling, you're going to start to feel that connection and not so much oppositional thinking in your head. That's what they're saying, is that she's very oppositional, very black and white. Money comes from here, it doesn't come from there. I have fun, and now I'm not making money. Now I'm making money, I'm not having fun. That would be what you want to work on. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you